Keyfree! Your daughter's in trouble. Yo, they trying to fucking diddle her eyes. That's really cool. I've never seen something quite like this before. The kind of water blade, part in the sea dynamic. That's, honestly, I want to see more of that. That's like the coolest spell they've done. Oh, it does have a bunch of encarving. Rain Cleaver, that's a pretty sick name. The two biggest troublemakers in the group, left alone unsupervised. What could go wrong? It's interesting, right? Because usually the dynamic is one character is just impulsive. They've almost split it up. You have the hostility and arrogance on Agott's side, and then you have the rash jump in first, don't ask questions later on Coco. The art of bullshit jitsu. Pocket sand. I'm pretty sure that spell is also just like a signal flare. But hell, they'll get everyone back. Bro straight up is like, hey, I really appreciate the fireworks, but my kid's dying down there. God damn, you did it. You really, really did it. She used her past experience to use it in present day. I'm mostly surprised Keyfree and them haven't come back after seeing the big old bird fly around. They look like they're cosplaying knights. But they're in their band camp uniform. They got their batons and everything. Go fuck yourself. Ooh, she did the dissolve spell, but it went too far. Unfortunately, this may be the end for Coco. I assume my best boy will come in and backhand him, but I'm gonna assume the diddle hands of death equal memory wipe bare minimum, but to be honest, these knights are freaks. It could be more that they're attempting. Either way, fantastic episode, goddamn. Now, those are some of my highlights of the full live reaction. Want to catch the full one? Head on over to the Patreon. You can also join up on the YouTube memberships if that's more your jam. I am impressed. I think is the most impressive episode for me because it really flexes what I love about Coco and Agott the most in terms of their characters. But first things first, we do have to break down the Knights of Moralis. Like, the Knights suck ass, okay? I don't trust these Knights at all. Listen, and there's a big reason for that, okay? And I have a very good reason for not trusting them, even beyond the diddle hands of death here. These guys look like they're band camp members cosplaying as knights. They even have fucking batons, man. Like, I can't trust anyone who's supposed to be upholding law and order looking like this. Now, I'm sure there's some people who like their designs. They say, actually, I think they look pretty cool. Yeah, maybe I'm not a huge fan of what they're doing to Coco and the gang. And listen, you can have that opinion, but these are the lamest motherfuckers I've ever seen in my life. They aren't intimidating, bro. I honestly think the people below have more aura than whatever the fuck these guys are doing. Now, I don't say this as a, oh my god, this has ruined the episode. Like I said, I think this is the best episode of the show. But when I see these motherfuckers roll up in their goddamn kilts looking... I already don't like the pointy hats that the witch wears. You add in the little armor plating, it's so deeply unserious. But honestly though, it is an interesting situation because from their point of view, it actually does make sense. The whole fucking river has turned to sand and has dissolved. Now, I don't think Coco actually did this. I understand why they think she did. I mean, they knew one of them did, right? They said, hey, which one of you did the spell? And once Coco's like, my spell could have done that, they're like, bet, time to wipe your memory. So the whole exchange is essentially, okay, Coco ended up doing the same spell that we did during the dragon fight to get rid of a giant boulder that was on a kid. Makes sense. We know that the spell doesn't do anything negative to the person below, so it's a very safe way. If she tried to levitate the boulder or something, that thing could have come crashing down, killed the kid. But at face value, what is looking like it's happened is that the entire riverbed has also started to dissolve. So it does very much point to her spell going haywire. And that's honestly what I thought did happen at first, because I'm thinking, okay, well, she is a novice. Like, she's had no training up to this point and is now in the intermediate class. It's entirely possible one wrong line cause it to expand past the rock, right, and into the riverbed. The thing is based on how they're explaining it, they're kind of confused because how did a kid manage to make a spell large enough to do this? It almost feels to me that most likely the evil cult-looking group probably did something and are using her as a scapegoat. Probably. At the same time, would I be mad if it really was Coco's spell and it just like one wrong line caused it to go haywire? No, I think it'd be interesting drama. Unfortunately, unless it gets pinned on that other group, I don't even think Kiefer can stop the Knights. I mean, Kiefer has some pull, but this is bad. Like, I mean, this is what I always talk about when I say magic is dangerous in the show, and why irrational kids who have a lot of arrogance can be a very dangerous combination, because one wrong move, you turn a basic water spell into the entire world's flooded. One wrong flame spell to make a little illumination, the whole house goes up in flames. Or in this case, dissolving of a rock becomes dissolving of everyone's water source. It's a very tough situation, but I think it's a very interesting piece of drama, and I think they fucking cooked with it, and I'm excited to see what they do ultimately by the end. Now, we got two characters that I think equally deserve praise and deep dives, and that is, of course, Agott and Coco. So, both of these characters are my favorite of the show. Listen, I love Brush Buddy. He's always going to be the MVP, and I think, you know, our two senseis are equally memorable. But Coco and Agott are the characters that are the most interesting. They're frustrating, they're badass, they're innocent, they're arrogant, they're all forms of light. But what I've realized after this episode is that most shows would have made Agott and Coco the same character. What I mean is both of their character arcs would have been merged into one. And instead what they did was they made them separate characters, and in a way a little bit of a rival dynamic. But what's so fascinating to me is that throughout this episode, had they been that same character, I would have accurately predicted everything that would have happened. Agott would have rushed in, even when Sensei says, you know, you can just do the blow drying spell to keep people cool or warmed up. And in doing so, things would have escalated. When the kid slipped down the side of the cliff, I thought for sure this would be her moment to go help. Nope, instead Coco did it. Because at the end of the day, Coco is the one who acts rash and on impulse. The whole reason we got involved in the dragon situation was because she ran off and everyone had to follow because they didn't want their fellow classmate to die. Agott is a character with a lot of self-confidence issues, but does, for the most part, follow the rules. Now, does bend the rules, as we saw when she forced Coco to take the test when no one else was around. But in general, despite her seemingly arrogance, she isn't completely impulsive. And that's what I really like about her character. She frustrates you at times. She's a kid. She's going to have those moments. But in general, she does not function and fit into the traditional box. And I think by also showing her insecurities more highlighted in this episode, it explains her desire to do more and more so she can feel more appreciated. The fact that, too, she was able to trust in Coco to be able to do it. But the thing about this whole show is that you have to make sure that the general public doesn't know about magic, so you have to put on a performance. So by doing like a big old bird spell, which eventually they did say, hey, that's all well and good, but can you go save the kid down there? It gave Coco the distraction to do what she did. And I think this is one of the cooler things about the show, is how ultimately they don't really go back on what they said at the beginning, is that magic has been a hidden thing. So it's almost like putting on a street performance. You have to have sleight of hand. You have to make sure there's a performance so you can do the magic right in front of them, right? And they have no idea what's actually happening. They think, oh, big old bird flying in the sky, that's what's causing it. But in actuality, you're drawing a little circle on a piece of paper, right? And I think that sleight of hand is what's so interesting about the magic system. It's definitely one of the more memorable magic systems I've seen in anime, at least in the short term, but potentially the long term too, if they continue to do things like these. Because I like the fact that they actually had the characters doubt in Agott too. They were like, hey, you know, that's really pretty, but what about the kid? And it was just so nice because by the time they fully were like, hey, this is seeming like you're not really doing anything, Coco had come up and, you know, saved the day. So it's really cool how they actually continue to make the magic system remain relevant, because it could have been very easy for this to be like, no one knows about magic, and then every step of the way, it's like, how has no one ever figured out people do magic by drawing shit and anyone can do it? Well, because of stuff like this. Even if the kids are able to pull it off, imagine the masters at work, and the fact that it's so selective on who gets to become witches makes a lot of sense. I think Coco and Agott are definitely the standout characters in the show. I mean, I may have my fanboy with Kiefer and stuff, but at the end of the day, having Agott and Coco feel like in most authors' hands would have been one character, and all the predictability would have been like so obvious, but because you split them into two characters, one with that, I'm going to go help no matter what, not because I'm arrogant about my own abilities, but because I just naturally want to help and I'm curious, but also has that love for magic, where Agott is I am very arrogant. I need to be the best, and it doesn't really have that whimsical wonder like Coco does. It allows for both of them to avoid cliches and tropes like most of these shows, and that's really fucking impressive. But rip Coco. She got the diddle hands of death coming in, and unless Kiefer gets there soon, it ain't gonna be good. Your thoughts down below, though. Make sure you drop a like, share, support, subscribe, ring that bell if you haven't already. Of course, Patreon, full live reactions live over there, and other exclusives, because you know I gotta give those video shows to my patrons, because they're the only reason I get to do these YouTube videos at all. Alright, so today we got Clash King, Zero, Wyack Wilkin, Sarah Bree, Soggy Toast, Jess Y, I Am Here, Alexis A, Alex Jackson, No Name, No Face, and Dylan Fujimoto. So I appreciate the support. Please take care, and y'all have a good one.